cup of coffee in the big time, yeah. I will not let this opportunity slip through my fingers. Cup of coffee in the big time.
This is Tall Can Audio.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome inside an all-new episode of the Tall Can Audio podcast. My name is Matt Robinson, coming to you from our studio in beautiful Bytown, Canada. We are on social media at Tall Can Audio. Hope you'll follow along there and let us know what you think. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast wherever you're hearing us right now. And it is a big week. It is a big week. This is still one of my favorite events of the year, as my love for the product in general kind of goes up and down, but I always have time for this event. It is WWE Royal Rumble week. And when we need to talk wrestling, there's a place we always turn. That's to our buddy Kevin Michie from Sportsnet. He's here today. What's happening, man?
Well, let me tell you something, brother. I'm probably pretty similar to you, actually, where it's just like, you fall in love and out of love with the product, but Rumble season comes around and you're back in.
Yeah, it's just one of those events. And I've actually been talking to a couple people. A buddy of mine has invited me over to his place to watch the Rumble this weekend. And it's actually been a while since I've gone anywhere to watch a wrestling event with other people as I've gotten older. Like I said, you're sort of in and out on the product, but also like, I don't tell a lot of people that I'm a wrestling fan, so you don't socialize over it a little bit. And I kind of said, your wife, is she cool with this? And he goes, yeah, you know what, the Rumble, she's kind of all right with it. It's fun. You can kind of make some pools out of it, right? You can have a good time. It's not quite the Super Bowl or something, but in terms of even for the most casual or general of wrestling fans, the Rumble's an easy one to get into.
I think it's the most fun event that WWE puts on. And like to your points, it's anybody can watch it and understand what's happening. Okay, 30 guys come in, one guy can only win. You throw somebody over the top ropes and you're out. You get it? You get it? Okay, great. And like a bunch of shenanigans happen in the middle. It's fun. Let's bet on it.
And even if you don't know the backstories, there's all these characters. You're like, what is that guy? That guy's a Viking. Like, oh, that's my guy. Like, you can kind of get like, oh, your guy doesn't have a shot.
And then, yeah. And then somebody who used to be a fan back in the Attitude Era, as so many people were, all of a sudden the WWE will trot out somebody that they remember. It's like somebody like, oh, Scotty Too Hottie.
Right.
I remember that guy.
Yeah. So look, we're going to get into some of that. I want to also ask you about, it was a major news drop on, I guess it was Tuesday, that WWE is going to be moving some of their properties, or if you're a Canadian, all of their properties to Netflix. I want to ask you about that. But we always start with the beers, Kev, and I know you got to work a little later on, so you're not going to join me here. But I always like to ask you, because you kind of have your finger on the pulse of the situation down in Toronto. You tried anything new lately? Any new breweries pop up, or an old favorite that you've tried something new from? Anything you want to shout out here?
Yeah, so I actually got a little sneak peek at a new beer that's coming out from Bose. It's going to be coming out in late February, early March. It's called Wonder Crush. It's an easy drinking IPA, similar. Let's call it like a Detour, just a little heavier.
Yeah.
It's 5%. It's a session IPA. It's good. It's good stuff. But yeah, it's Wonder Crush coming out late Feb, early March, and it's from Bose, and it is tasty.
You got the hookups, eh? Somebody giving you
a buddy of mine in the industry. Shout out my buddy Halls, dropped off a few beers for me, and there was in blank cans, so I drank a few of the others that he gave me, and then I looked at the blank can and I said, what the fuck was this beer again? This is the mystery beer.
Yeah.
Anyways, I reached out and he let me know, and yeah, it is quite tasty. I think anybody who just wants a kind of a light drinking IPA similar to a Detour, which is one of my favorite beers.
Yeah.
This is a good one too.
So shout out to shout out to your buddy Halls. I'm shouting out Flora Hall Brewery here in Ottawa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, as I try and pigeonhole in some wordplay there. Flora Hall, a brewery over in the Glebe, not far from TD Place, which has been happening lately with the launch of the PWHL moving in over there, and that's something we're gonna we're gonna talk about that in a second as well. But this is their Bohemian Pilsner, and I got to tell you, I've tried a couple Pilsners lately, and they just haven't been hitting me quite right. Now, I think 2 of the last 3 that I've tried that were new were Italian Pilsners, and I kind of know there's nothing wrong with them, but it's not my style. What I like out of a Pilsner is like that kind of crisp, it's got a little bite to it, right? And that's more of the German, the Bohemian Pilsner. And so when I take a first sip on this one. Very crisp, very nice. It's bringing exactly what I wanted of a Pilsner, so shout out to Flora Hall for that one. I referenced the PWHL a second ago and the fact that the Ottawa franchise has moved into TD Place, right there off Bank Street, right downtown, killing it so far with sellouts, big-time attendance. They've had to open up more and more seats to fit everybody in there. You have a tie to the Toronto franchise. You put on your social media there not too long ago that you were starting up with the Toronto group. What are you doing down there, man?
That's right. I'm very excited about this because this is so far from journalism that I can outwardly be a Toronto fan and nobody can criticize me because I work for the team. So here's what I'll say. Tuesday night in Ottawa, Toronto was visiting.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, fuck Ottawa, man. Toronto... that was very disappointing. I feel like Toronto got goalied on Tuesday nights.
A little bit.
Mashmeyer played really, really well. I thought Toronto played Ottawa for large stretches of that, but then just a couple of lucky bounces early on in the game, and Ottawa was able to pull out that win. The first home win of the year for Ottawa.
That's right. Yeah, 2 shootout losses or overtime losses before this. So.
Well, I mean, congrats to Ottawa in all seriousness because they've been showing up and showing off in that arena. Like it's like 8,500 people every night or something like that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. It's really, awesome. Really cool.
It's been great. I was down there at the home opener, man. The building was loud. It was full. It's been great to see. And they normally open it up to like 4,700 people for the 67s. And before that home opener, they're like, all right, we're going to open it up to like 5,300. We're going to open up another area. And that wasn't enough. It sold out immediately. So they're like, all right, we'll go to about 6,000. Nope. Okay, we'll open the second deck. That'll get us to about 7,200. Nope, not enough. And they just kept rolling it back. And it was like, we found a couple more 100 seats. And like I sort of felt like when I walked in there, you were going to see like folding chairs on the concourse with how many people they had managed to chant. Like, where did you keep finding places to put people? But it's been awesome here in Ottawa so far, man. The community has that game Tuesday that you're referencing. The Sens were playing at the same time, and it was still a full house. So
that's awesome.
It was great. Yeah.
Well, every single home game for Toronto is sold out, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
We just need to pick up a W in our building. Unfortunately, 0-3 so far.
Back in the Gardens, that's cool.
Yeah, it is. It is. So yeah, I'm doing in-game stuff, and I'll be doing a few interviews here and there that'll pop up on socials with some of the players. But yeah, right now working with young Abigail Dove. I shouldn't call her young Abigail. It's just Abigail Dove. Well, she's in university right now, and she's really fantastic in the hosting role. She's actually teaching me a lot about kind of in arena hosting because all of my previous hosting was on television, and this is quite different. But it's a lot of fun. And here's what I've been telling people. So it's fun working in this role because I'm not sure if you understand the power that you have when you control the t-shirt toss. I hold the T-shirts in my hand and I look out across the crowd and I say, it's T-shirt time.
I have the ability to kill Maud Flanders right now.
I'm waiting for when I'm allowed to control the T-shirt with a T-shirt cannon. Yeah. That's what I really want. So I look across and people go bananas for a T-shirt, and I'm happy to distribute said T-shirts to the crowd. It's been a lot of fun, though, and the crowds have been great. Everybody in attendance is really digging the fact that just we have more professional hockey to watch in Toronto. It's been a lot of fun, and the season will hopefully get turned around for the Toronto squads.
Yeah.
We're still trying to gel.
Still early.
That's right. Head coach Troy Ryan is still playing with a lot of the lines. Everybody's trying to figure out if they
where they fit,
where they fit on the team. Yeah, that's right.
Well, I'm curious, like. The Toronto franchise, it was big news. Like there was a huge week of news before the season even started that like Ottawa sold out the home opener like 8,000 people. Toronto sold out their season on like day one or whatever it was. It's a smaller venue, but they sold out the whole year. I'm curious, what would be the plan? And I'm not assuming, I could be wrong. I'm assuming you're not sitting in on like the franchise planning meetings and where this goes next year.
No, they wouldn't let me do that.
No, and that's a good call. But like, what would you
keep me away from that.
Envision next? Like, would you look at one of the OHL buildings, maybe in like, it's too far out, but Oshawa, Brampton, or like does Ricoh Coliseum? I know it has a different name now. I haven't lived in GTA in a while. Would that make sense? Like this all came together so fast to get this season up and running, and management, made it pretty clear. Yeah, we could have done some things a little differently, but it was the most important thing was to get all these players on the ice as soon as possible. And so by the time the league was booking arenas, Coca-Cola Coliseum, I remembered it. It was kind of booked up. The ACC's kind of showing the Scotiabank Arena was booked up. Like the
SBA.
Yeah, no, it's not the same. So I'm just curious, would you like to see kind of a move into like an OHL-sized barn, or is this thing, based on the enthusiasm, ready for like the 10,000-seat barn at where the Marlies play? Like, where do they go next, in your opinion? Because it's sold out so fast. There's clearly a demand.
Absolutely, and yeah, I think that's the key aspect to this, is that the demand continues to be there. And if the Toronto PWHL team would, I think there's a bunch of smart people behind the scenes that are helping run this thing, and it would behoove them quite well to explore other alternatives around the area that would allow you to put more butts in the seats.
'Cause it's just shy of 3,000 at the Gardens, right?
Yeah, it's about 2,500.
Okay, yeah.
Give or take, and it just makes sense from a business perspective if the demand is there to look for something bigger. And I think that they want to stay within the city.
Yeah.
So Rico,
you've seen like New York
/
has been out in Connecticut, and Boston's in Lowell, or like
Lowell. New York's in Connecticut and
Long Island. Yeah,
Long Island. So like two different arenas. That's not great.
No, and how do you sell season tickets to someone who lives in Connecticut if half the games are in?
Yeah. So the demand is there in Toronto. It would not surprise me, and I don't know anything. It would not surprise me one bit if they were exploring somewhere else in Toronto to move. And I think everybody thinks that the next logical spot to look would be Coca-Cola Coliseum. Although I just did see that the Mississauga Steelheads might be moving to Brampton. So wherever Mississauga plays, which I can't remember, maybe that arena has some dates that'll open up. And that's just me talking out my backside. I don't know. I'm just kind of filibustering, but
you're right. That's a tough sell too. Now, like if you're someone who lives in Scarborough, instead of going downtown Toronto, you're going to Mississauga. Like everything has its give and take, I guess. And
I mean, Coca or Mattamy, aka Maple Leaf Gardens, is a very easy spot to access.
Right.
It's right on the subway line, right downtown Toronto. Not too far away from Union Station. It's very easy to get to, and Coca-Cola Coliseum is the same way. It's just one subway, one GO train stop from Union. You just go Union to Exhibition, and you're right there. So, I mean, those two spots are fantastic in location. I think if everybody had their perfect world, you just move over to Coca-Cola and you can sell out that spot, which can hold like 10,000 people.
Yeah, no, and that would be a classic spot for the team to land. I'm curious, just before we move off it, you've been in the building for those first couple home games. They have been sold out. What's the crowd been like? Is it the team has struggled a little, but it's still early. I'm assuming things have been enthusiastic there in the building.
Oh yeah, people have been fired up. So I've been chatting with a few of the season ticket holders, and I said, when did you get seasons? And they said right when they went on sale. I had myself. We were on the website trying to get tickets, and my friend was on the website too. It's like kind of like if a big, like when Taylor Swift was announcing her tour, and everyone was trying to get the codes and get on right away and get tickets. It felt like that. So people are super fired up that the team is here, and I'm getting even more excited now that everyone still recognizes the momentous occasion of professional women's hockey being so popular, and these women finally having a chance to shine and to show the next generation that young girls can play for a professional league. It doesn't stop at 18 years old or 20 years old, whatever it is. Now we're actually getting into the nuances of hockey coverage as well, where people are starting to complain about, who should be on what line, what goalie should be starting, who should be out at what time. And I love those conversations. We're actually getting into that.
Yeah. I'm having the same discussions here. Like, I've loved Ottawa's third line of Daryl Watts, Akani Shiga. Like, these people are like, and you're kind of talking about, it's been a slow start for Brianne Jenner on that top line. Do we need to shake things up? It's not like, let's do things to support women's hockey. It's like, yeah, women's hockey's here. I want to debate the power play. I want to kick it around. Like, this is a thing now, right? Like,
absolutely. And like, that's what's fun about being a sports fan, especially I think with the PWHL, is that there's not this snootiness to being a sports fan. Like, you can be a fan of PWHL Toronto at your own speed, and no one is going to judge you for it either.
Yeah.
If you want to go there and you don't know the lines and stuff like that, cool, man, good on you. It doesn't matter to me. But if you want to debate if Sarah Nurse should be on the first line or the second line, like, let's do that too.
Right.
It's good stuff.
It's been terrific, honestly, and the momentum's been great. We've got all three of the both major sports networks and CBC, who also gets big into sports at certain times. They're all carrying games. If it happens to be on a streaming service that day, like TSN's run one or two on TSN Plus that haven't been on the main, your cable, you can still find it on YouTube. The broadcasts have been good. Like, everything's been presented as top end. And we just had Kenzie Lalonde here on the show the other day, and she was talking about how professional she's felt like she's been treated by the league and just everything that's gone into this. So I don't know that they could have had a stronger launch. We all sort of, I guess the term I would use is cringed early on when we were like, we're not going to have team names this year and thus no logos on jerseys. You're kind of like, that's a bit of a bummer. But it was something everybody got over pretty quick once the season started. It was like, this rules. Let's go, right?
Yeah, and let me follow that by saying, so year one, you announced that there's this brand new professional women's hockey league that is properly financed, that actually has legs to stand on in terms of respectability and actually legitimate. So that's what we're looking forward to, the momentous nature of this league launching. Mm-hmm. How do you keep that momentum going into year two? Okay, year two, we're going to have team names and we're going to have full team identities.
Right.
So you're going to keep that momentum going by saying, like, okay, year one's in the books. We can all celebrate that we went through 1 year, the league launched. We're super fired up that we have the spot for women to showcase
Ottawa
themselves.
grabbed the championship. We're all feeling good.
All right. No. Season's still young here. Toronto's still going to make a run.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
But year two, all of a sudden, you have this ability to identify actual teams and team identities, and the jerseys are going to launch.
Giving each other hats and T-shirts for Christmas, and
that's right.
Yeah.
So it's year two. There's something else to look forward to, and it's just going to keep on getting better, I think. It's been a tremendous launch. It's cool to see that you're involved down there with the Toronto franchise. So we know they're in good hands as long as they're not letting you. Actually, yours. Yeah. It's been fun to see, and the number of people like that I just happened to follow on hockey Twitter here in Ottawa who turned out to be at that first game. Like, this is an event. Like, I wanted to be at the home opener, and it's been great to see. But look, we'll talk about the Royal Rumble here in a second. But one of the things we saw on Tuesday was the news that WWE is moving Monday Night Raw to Netflix. And this has a few moving parts. So just to catch the listener up, because whether you're a wrestling fan or not, I think this is an interesting story in where sports media broadcasting is going. So in the United States, starting January 2025, so a year from now, Monday Night Raw is going to move from the USA Network on your standard cable package to Netflix. SmackDown is going to move from Fox over to USA Network, so they will stay on cable, and all your pay-per-views, your Royal Rumbles, your WrestleManias, your SummerSlams, your big events like that, they're going to remain, for now, on Peacock, which is NBC's streaming service, and they bought up the rights to those a while ago as part of broadcasting WWE Network, everything else in the US. In Canada and the UK and in Latin America, and I think a few other territories, it's a full move. Everything is going to Netflix. Raw and SmackDown, the pay-per-views, NXT, all the old, I think the documentaries, the tape library, I imagine you'll see end up on Netflix as well. So this is a huge shift for WWE in the sense that you're abandoning that classic cable broadcast format and going, well, Netflix is paying us a lot of money, and a lot of people have Netflix worldwide, and we feel like we can get similar numbers there. I'm just curious, before we kind of get into some of the details here, were you
I'd heard all the way through, Kev, that they had been talking to Amazon Prime, they'd been talking to Netflix, but I still felt like this was a company that would really like to keep a foot on cable, that classic where wrestling's always been. Were you surprised when you woke up and opened up Twitter and saw that, holy shit, it's all moving online?
I don't know if surprise is the right word, but it certainly was shocking to read at the first moment. But I don't know, being in the industry, just nothing really surprises me anymore. I guess I was surprised that it was such a hard commitment
10
for
years.
WWE to say there's an opt-out after 5.
Right, okay.
For WWE to say when they very much enjoy flaunting the fact that they were number 1 on cable so often,
Yeah.
because it's still a great ratings draw,
Yeah.
both in Canada, the US, and beyond. They decided that, to
Longest
your point,
running
that
episodic television.
that's
whatever.
right, and they kept getting good ratings. They decided that they were going to forego getting those good ratings anymore. The ratings wars will not happen anymore with WWE, and they said, "Let's take the money." But it's especially impressive to me that it's been a relatively soft market lately in terms of leagues and entertainment places looking for media deals. It sounds like the NBA isn't going to get as big a deal as everyone thought. I was hearing that and Netflix was looking at that NBA in-season tournament to
Right.
potentially have that. So that could be live. I think this is a great deal for everyone involved, though. I will say that. Like, WWE's, take the $5 billion, of course. Also, the fact that you look at the fact that it seems like everyone has a Netflix account, or somebody uses Netflix via a family member.
Yeah, that's me.
Everybody, so yeah,
I have
everybody
access
already
to a Netflix account.
Everybody already has a Netflix account. So
Yeah.
it's not like, let's say, Sportsnet Plus or TSN Plus, something that is still trying to really make their mark in the streaming market. And they're not going to be using, or if it's the States, like ESPN Plus, who's still trying to make inroads there.
Yep.
WWE's not going to a spot where the streaming service will be using the WWE to get subscribers. Netflix already has the subscribers. So WWE's reach will stay as big, if not bigger than it ever was, because it crosses borders now and you are able to access it anywhere. And I will mention via a very user-friendly experience, because Netflix, I've found, has always just had a very excellent interface, whether I've used it through my Rogers Ignite or through Apple TV or just through like a web browser. I've always felt it was very easy to navigate.
Browse,
if I'm able to access, to your point, the tape library, all the old stuff.
Yeah, if I want to watch
Netflix,
the '94 Rumble and Brett and Lex
I
go
can-
over the top, I want to find
Yeah.
like there's going to be a section
right there.
right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's right there and I can access it. That's fantastic. It was a great business deal for WWE. I think it was a fantastic move for Netflix, because it's almost like you're getting like a Stranger Things, but you don't have to write it. You're just sub-licensing everything, and WWE.
Yeah, someone else
can
creates the content for you.
Somebody's creating all that content, and you already have that built-in audience to continue to watch. And the only shitty thing is I imagine that there will be like another tier that you have to pay for Netflix at some point.
Probably.
Yeah, they just keep raising their price. But I'm assuming that, like, oh, you want the WWE, you have to pay an extra $2 a month or something. It'll be $20 a month.
Well, and the interesting thing is going to be as well, the way this is, I was going to say categorized. It's not the right, but like ranked, or you mentioned like WWE is getting out of the TV ratings war, but Netflix is all about hours watched. Like, one of the first things that came to mind for me was, oh my God, maybe this means we go back to a 2-hour Raw, and that would be fantastic as opposed to 3 hours. And 30 seconds thought goes, no, Netflix likes to flaunt, like, they don't have TV ratings, they have hours watched. And that's what they promote to their shareholders and to their advertisers is, look how many hours people watch Netflix. So it's a different type of game. I would assume if Netflix is making this deal, they want that whole tape library. They want me and you to go back and watch Ric Flair win the 92 Rumble or whatever, because those all count. But just the weekly stream, for a lot of people for a very long time, and look, WWE's been better lately, but 3 hours was too long for Monday Night Raw. And while I initially thought maybe the play here would allow them to move back to 2 hours, that's probably not what Netflix wants. They want that extra hour where you're sitting there watching the stuff, right there on their platform.
I agree. And also WWE still wants the advertising revenue that comes with an extra hour of commercials.
Yeah.
That continues to bring money in for them. So they will continue to do that. Or their partner, like Netflix, will reap the rewards of that extra hour of advertising revenue. So that will. So
even in this is going to be one of the funny things about this, and we're all going to have to sort of wrap our heads around it as more and more properties move online. But I don't know if you've ever watched any of those Apple TV MLB Friday night games. The Blue Jays have had to be on them a couple of different times, and they still take the traditional commercial break, but they don't run commercials. There's a little bass line that runs, and there's music going on, and it is what it is. I'm paying the top tier of Netflix to get the ad-free thing, but I imagine Monday Night Raw will still have ads. If we're going to move into live broadcasting, they're going to still sell commercials, even though you're paying for the ad-free version of Netflix. This is going to be one of those things I think we have to get our heads around a bit.
It's going to be weird, too, because if you consider the fact that Netflix is a global brand and I could access Netflix globally from wherever the hell I live.
Yeah.
I don't know. They might have to get into geo-blocking because you can't sell advertisements to 7 billion people. You're selling advertisements to a national Canadian audience.
Yeah, here's Tim Hortons' new breakfast sandwich. Yeah. They don't care in Thailand. They just don't.
No, they certainly don't. That's not good at, that's not advertising for Canada. It's like, maybe we should go to Canada and try that Timmy's breakfast sandwich. So I mean, I'm not sure what the nuances are involved in trying to geo-block to make sure that commercials stay there, or WWE just promos their own shit constantly throughout commercial breaks.
Right.
I'm not sure if that will be the play, or Netflix promos all their series.
Yeah.
Like right now when I watch Sportsnet Plus and I'm watching I have Sportsnet Plus Premium.
Yep.
So I watch any hockey game.
Yep.
And I'm watching Ducks. Who the hell did they play last night? Ducks Sabres.
Why? Why are you watching that? Are you okay, Kev? Are things all right?
Just a hockey sicko. I just want to see how Tage
I should
Thompson's
check in
doing.
on you more, man. I hope things are okay.
I appreciate that, man.
But I know what you're saying.
During commercial breaks, it's just there's no natural just national advertisements. It's just commercials for all Rogers products. I've seen the commercial for Law and Order Toronto 1,000 times
God,
now.
Yeah.
So because that's airing on City TV,
yes,
which is a Rogers product. I'm not. Maybe that'll be the play for Netflix, where it'll just be the new season of Love Is Blind, and I'll see that
after Raw. Check out
times.
the new season of Fuller House, right?
Yeah, exactly. So maybe it'll be something like that.
Yeah, could be. It is a major shift. I want to talk to you because I want to talk to you about what this is going to mean in Canada, because I know you're working there at Sportsnet, and look, we don't know what's going to happen, but WWE is a huge percentage of what gets run on Sportsnet 360. Monday nights, Tuesday nights, and Friday nights for sure is all live stuff. You got Raw, NXT, and SmackDown. And then there's repeats. You got Superstars. You got some of the documentaries. I don't know if we know what this means for Sportsnet, but as it moves off of sports, I think I explained to you in a text message that living here in Ottawa, I have to get Sportsnet Plus Premium or Sportsnet Net. No, it's Sportsnet Plus Premium. There's a name change here somewhere in the last few months, and just to get all the Leaf games. And so I was paying for that service anyway, and then WWE Network got rolled into it. And for someone like me, all of that stuff is now in one place. I can watch my Leaf games. If I'm feeling bad about myself, I can watch Ducks and Sabres, and then I can watch the Royal Rumble or wrestling.
It was a good game.
I'll have to take your word for it on it.
Yeah, it was.
All right. But this is going to be plucked out of Sportsnet's, package of holdings. And I think for wrestling fans, the Netflix value play, right? Like, it's going to be cheaper than a year of sport. Like, but for someone who wants to watch everything and likes to have everything all in one place, essentially, I had that on Sportsnet Plus, everything but the CFL in the summer, which was about the only thing that didn't make it inside the Sportsnet cabinet. So you are pulling some value out of the Sportsnet thing, but I think for the wrestling fan in Canada, this is probably an overall win, if I can ask you to speak ill of your employer.
No, and it's not necessarily speaking ill either. I mean, I'll speak as a wrestling fan, and I'll just say that I really enjoy the Netflix interface, and I feel like you mentioned, if I want to watch the 92 Rumble, or if I want to watch WrestleMania 6 in Skydome, Hogan Warrior 1990, then I can easily access that.
It's a loss for Sportsnet.
It definitely is. I mean, and nobody could argue otherwise that it's not a loss.
As much as a lot of people pretend they don't watch wrestling, and a lot of people don't. I'm not saying everyone's a closet. The numbers suggest there are more people watching wrestling than people who say they watch wrestling.
I mean, it's a guaranteed ratings draw every single Monday and Friday night.
Yeah.
You're getting, on average between like 300,000 and 400,000 people, sometimes more.
Yeah.
And you can slot that in every single Monday night. You can pretty much bank those advertising dollars if you're the Sportsnet's execs, which, like, I don't really know how that works super specifically.
Right.
Just kind of a general understanding. You can bank in those ratings every single night. So, like, it's a hole that's left in the programming. But I would say that Sportsnet just signed the UFC deal, so there'll be some replacement coverage with that. And that's not to say that, like, WWE and UFC are equal to each other.
But it is content hours. You have the Ultimate Fighter. You have Fight Nights. You have the Dana White Contenders Series. Like, you can fill some of these hours now.
Absolutely. And like the UFC has that, where wrestling may be the biggest niche audience in the world. UFC also has that huge niche audience.
Yep.
I mean, you look at the coverage that their big UFC pay-per-views get, like UFC 297 in Toronto. Like, there was crazy amounts of coverage of that.
Yeah.
And now it's just a matter of that translating in Sportsnet, picking up the viewers and people understanding that you can access all the UFC coverage via Sportsnet Plus Premium, something like that. But to your point, it will be a loss for Sportsnet. It will be a loss for me, for the Canadian wrestling fan, because with Sportsnet not covering it as much anymore, I can't imagine that a lot of Canadian outlets will be dedicating a lot of time to Canadian wrestling stories. You won't see as much things like Sami Zayn. I remember a few years ago, Chris Jericho when Chris Jericho was still in WWE, he did a Hockey Night in Canada opening. So,
right.
You might not see, like, little things like that anymore.
Yeah, the crossover.
Just because of the crossover part, just because of the partnerships that were involved. So it will be a small loss that way. But if you're a wrestling fan and you already have Netflix, this will be good for you.
So last thing on this I want to ask you is, in your opinion, is this good for the business? The one argument would always be, if you're on cable, you have a chance to find new fans who are just flipping channels, right? What is this, right? There's two guys in their underwear pretending to fight each other, and I think it's kind of fun. I'm going to stick around and watch it. That's there for you on cable. Netflix, worldwide, a much larger audience, but less likely to just click on something than you would be to flip by something on cable. In a big picture sense, is this good for the business? Kind of neutral? Is it possible they take a step back here? What do you sort of think of? Because I think they're going to let these international markets be the canary in the coal mine before they go all in the U.S., and they'll have a little time to see how the rest of the world is responding before deciding to go take all the Peacock content, all the SmackDown content onto Netflix as well. Do you think this is going to be successful and this is where they'll eventually go all in? Or is this maybe riskier than they should have been looking to do?
I'm not going to call it. I don't think it would be a risk. necessarily. I think that there's a shitload of smart people at the top of WWE who identified that this is going to pay off. And for the Netflix side,
Well, it already paid off, like financially.
Yeah, quite literally, to the tune of $5 billion.
Yeah, not bad.
A year. It's if you're looking at something like just like flipping through channels, if you open your Netflix and you're ready to watch whatever the hell you're going to watch on Netflix, like Love is Blind or Big Mouth or whatever other original programmings are, you see that at the very top, or it's like the first suggested thing.
Yeah.
So let's say that you turn on Netflix this time and it's going to remind you every single time Raw is there. Or do you want to watch the Undertaker Last Ride series? Like that's there.
Right.
And then you say like, oh, how to get this? And then it'll say like suggested like WWE content, like Monday Night Raw. Do you want to watch last Monday's Raw, or do you want to remember the live ones coming up too? And you can watch that.
That's a huge part of this we haven't talked about is like, I forgot to PVR Raw this week, so I'll wait for a replay somewhere. Like, no, it's Netflix. It'll just start it when you want. Like you got home 45 minutes late to start the show. Like
I will say to that point that Sportsnet Plus Premium does have that ability.
That's true.
As soon as Raw is over, you can access it on the streaming, which I actually did this past Monday because I wanted to watch the Cody and Punk promo,
that was awesome.
which actually turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah.
So I just threw that on, and I was able to very easily scroll through to where I wanted to watch, and I threw on the Punk promo, and then I watched the main event match.
Right.
But with Netflix, you can get on and just be like, oh, I'm just going to go back and watch Raw, and then they'll do a good job of saying, like they always have like suggested content, or I was watching like Batman or something, like I think like a while ago I was watching The Dark Knight, and it's just like, the Batman series, and it like shows you the other Batman movies that you can watch along with it. So it'll be something like that, where it's like, WrestleMania. There'll be like the WrestleMania series, like also Monday Night Raw live this Monday. Like Netflix do a good job of reminding you and telling you. If you like
this, you'll also like this. Like stay in our little universe here, and
exactly, yeah.
One of the ones, is we're a year out from that move, but we're only a couple of days out from the Royal Rumble, and we talked off the top about this being an easy sell most of the time. This is, it's not quite as big most years, or at least it isn't presented as being as big as WrestleMania, but I think it is for the casual fan, in a general sense, the most fun show of the year is probably what I would call it. I know you recently had something on sportsnet.ca. We'll link to in the show notes here, talking to Jey Uso. What's he thinking heading into the Royal Rumble?
I was pretty pumped to talk to Jey, especially when he kept calling me Oos. I felt very, very part of Jey Uso's world.
Yeah.
Man, he was fun to talk to. Just a short conversation, but I was just basically trying to talk to him about like what's a Royal Rumble strategy look like, or like what's the day of a Rumble look like. And one of the most interesting things that he told me, and I mentioned this in the article that I did, I said, like, when do you find out what number you are? And he said the day of, you find out what number you are. Sometimes you'll know like who's number 1 or who's number 30.
Sure.
But for the most part, you don't know anything in between. And he said you're handed a piece of paper, and you can't open the piece of paper until a specific time. And they say, okay, open it. And then everyone looks at it and they go, oh shit, I'm number whatever. And then he said you go around to the other wrestlers, and it's like trying to figure out like, what candy did you get? And you go around asking like, oh, what number are you? What number are you? So he said it's just pretty wild like that. It's just boom, go time. Here we go. Which is pretty crazy. So there's not a lot that you can prep. Sometimes you prep like spots in a match,
right? But
that's about it. You might have an idea of like what time you're going to go out at just based on the spot. But it's like, okay, like you're going to go out, and then eventually like this wrestler X is going to come out. Like last year, the big Ricochet, Logan, not Jake.
No, it's Logan. Yeah.
Logan, right. Logan Paul spot where like they met in the middle and like did this huge crossbody collision jumping off the top ropes. Like that was a huge spot. So obviously they're not just coming up with that on the spot.
No.
That was planned. So they had an idea of where they were coming out. And like maybe somebody like Logan Paul was given a heads up ahead of time. So, okay, we're going to put you out at this time because he's relatively green in the business. So they're not just going to like let him go on the fly. Things like that. But for the most part, you're just finding out as it comes.
It's an interesting read. Like I said, it's on our social media feeds at Tall Can Audio right now, but we'll link to it in the show notes. And there's a couple of different ways they can go here. They've sort of introduced a couple of weeks ago the possibility, The Rock teased that he might be back to face Roman. We've got the Cody thing where he wants to finish his story. CM Punk and Seth Rollins have been kind of pushed up against each other, so that might make sense that Punk could win the thing. Seth's injury now makes things a little bit more complicated. There's a few different ways they can go here, but it does feel like they haven't announced as many names as usual. Like at this point, we're only a few days out. I think they've only, for the men's match, announced like 8 names, and for the women, maybe 6 or 7. That is unusual, right? I'm not crazy that we don't know anywhere near as many entrants as we normally would at this point.
Well, you're crazy, but
okay.
This is a point well taken. I will say that. Yeah, it's relatively.
They always leave a few guest spots that we don't know, but this time it feels like there's 15, 17 empty spots.
Wikipedia, which never lies,
all right,
tells me that 11 out of the 30 men's entrants have been announced, and 6 have only been announced for the women.
Okay,
and that's with just SmackDown to go, crazy. Essentially. You still are crazy, but that's besides the point.
All right.
It's unique. For the women's match, I kind of hypothesized that the intrigue doesn't surround who has been announced. It surrounds who hasn't and who will not be announced, because there's tons of rumors floating around. Particularly, there's one more concrete than the other, where Naomi, who now goes by Trinity in Impact Wrestling, just lost the women's Impact title. And I think this week or last week was going to have like a match. I don't follow Impact closely enough, but was going to have a match where it was considered to be like her last match with Impact because her contract is up there. So the thought is she will be a surprise in the Rumble, while less concretely identified and more speculation than anything. Sasha Banks, who now goes by Mercedes Moné, will make a return to WWE as well and make an appearance in the Rumble. 2 huge pops.
Yeah.
Making their in-ring debut might be Jade Cargill, former TBS champion in AEW, signed a mega money deal last year with WWE. She could make her in-ring debut in the Rumble. And any one of those women could win the Rumble as well. Maybe not Naomi, but definitely Sasha Banks or Jade Cargill. Yeah. They could get that shine, and it would be extremely interesting. But yeah, still not a lot of people announced, but maybe that's by design for WWE.
What do you think the odds are that, look, the prize for winning the Royal Rumble is the title shot at WrestleMania. So as you're writing this out and you're booking it out, trying to figure out what to do, what do you think the odds are that they take the belt off Roman Reigns at the Rumble and then you can do him versus The Rock without the championship involved? Because it gets complicated. We've seen The Rock teased. He's been back. He's teased, sitting at the head of the table, which is Roman's thing. And so that's a tough story. Like, do you want to bring The Rock back and have him lose? But if you bring him back and have him win, now you got to do something silly to get it off of him, right? The championship. Is there a chance at all in your mind that if they want to get to Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania, they might take the belt off of Roman here in this fatal 4-way match? Maybe it's Orton that they could give it to and build that way? Or at this point, is Roman going in for sure as the champion at WrestleMania?
I say it's slim to none that he loses the title at Royal Rumble. There could be a way where he loses the match, but that somehow the title doesn't change hands. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I would say that it's very slim to none with the title reign at over 1,200 days or something stupid like that. They're going to take it off him now ahead of the biggest event of the year.
Yeah.
I think that they want that when Roman finally loses to be on the biggest event with the most eyeballs on it, and that is WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So that leads us to CM Punk came back to WWE, and when he left, it was very clear that he was pissed off that he never got that WrestleMania main event match.
Yep.
And he's spoke about how Dwayne, aka The Rock, was getting main event matches when it was just an attraction.
And here we are again.
That's right. He comes back. I mean, Cody's there too. He wants to, as he's been saying, finish the story. Who's to say that it won't be a triple threat or a four-way? And let's say it's a triple threat, just as Roman did 2 years ago when he pinned both Edge and Daniel Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe CM Punk has an ability to pin both The Rock and Roman Reigns, and then he finally gets his cake and gets to eat it too. Gets the main event and gets the win over the two guys or at least one guy that he despises. And Punk is that big of a draw where he's the indie mark draw, The Rock is the casual fan draw, and Roman Reigns is the WWE fan draw, where you get everybody into one match and it's one of the biggest matches of all time. I think that is very possible.
It leaves Cody boxed out.
It certainly does. I mean, it could be maybe Cody finally goes after Seth Rollins or something like that. Seth wants to go in, still wrestle, even though he's hurt. He said he tore up his knee.
Yeah.
Whenever it was last Monday.
Which really complicates everything they're going to try and build here, right? Like,
absolutely, yeah.
So they're going to second champion be available or not?
And if Cody wins that match, they'll always say, like, well, he didn't win the actual title.
Right.
He won this new made-up title that because they couldn't take the title off Roman.
Right. So
it's very interesting.
Let me run one other possibility by you. Maybe you don't have Cody or Punk or one of those guys win it. What are the odds that to set this up and to stop you from having to choose between Punk and Cody and one of your main eventers winning the Rumble? What are the odds that The Rock shows up in one of the, any number of empty spots that haven't yet been booked that apparently will be surprises? What are the odds that The Rock is in the Rumble, wins the Rumble, and that's how he gets his Roman match? Would you go that way?
I mean, it's a hell of a way to go. The Rock is, if you look at a bunch of different sports books, the odds say that The Rock does have a shot right now. People are laying money on The Rock to win the Rumble. CM Punk is the odds-on favorite across pretty much every sports book.
Okay.
And it's at like minus 200. So, you're eating chalk to bet on CM Punk to win the Rumble. It's The Rock winning the Rumble. I don't think, I'm trying to think like who it benefits.
The Rock.
To see The Rock win, and then it benefits The Rock. It benefits the TKO shareholders certainly.
Yep.
Because then you get the image of The Rock winning and pointing at the WrestleMania sign, and then there's your advertisement. So
right.
The Rock is going to be at WrestleMania. So from a business perspective, it makes all the sense in the world. But just taking The Rock, who hasn't had a match in WWE in 10 years more, 15 years, whenever that Cena Rock WrestleMania match was,
right?
You're just going to take him, put him in the Rumble, and he wins? Like, it's kind of a slap in the face to WWE fans. But do they really care? I mean, it's The Rock.
Right.
And he's one of the most successful wrestlers of all time. So you could just say, like, oh, he's never lost it, and he can still do whatever he wants.
Well, that's what I wonder about.
It's weird.
It is weird. And that's why I wonder, from a storytelling perspective, whether you'd consider taking the belt off of Roman, whether it's here or maybe at Elimination Chamber down in, although I believe Roman's not booked to go to Australia. Anyway, could you find a way, because Roman versus Rock would sell without the title, and then you don't have to put Rock over any of your current stars to get him there. It's this. No, this is the fun part of the Rumble, is you can talk yourself into a bunch of different stories to set up the biggest show of the year.
Yeah, I mean, Cody could win the Rumble again, back to back. I mean, that would make sense. There's a bunch of,
could Gunther win it? He just confronted Seth.
I mean, they redo something like WrestleMania 6, where Gunther's got the IC and he goes after the top strap, or the 1B strap, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
And he goes out on top, winning, having both belts, and Cody and Seth goes away for a while. Like, there are legitimately a lot of great options.
That's what makes this so
Rumble.
Fun. Yeah.
And actually, like, Jay laid that out to me when I chatted with him. I said you can't pick yourself. Who do you think's going to win the Rumble? And he mentions, who did he mention first? I don't remember, but he did mention, I know he went through Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
He went through Cody Rhodes. He went through CM Punk, and he went through Gunther. So, like, there's four of your main favorites right there. And, like, Uso was saying, like, yeah, man, any of these guys could win. And, like, maybe he knows, maybe he doesn't. I'm guessing he doesn't know.
Right.
He's probably being kept in the dark on that. Like, talent doesn't need to know exactly all the storylines going to play out. But talent is saying these are the 4 guys, and it is conceivable that each of those 4 guys can win.
Yep.
I believe Jay in that for sure.
And that's to me, I'm as intrigued by this one as I have been in quite a while. So I'm looking forward to it. What about you? You got any other Rumble content coming up before the actual event that we can look forward to? Or
no, just I'm gonna be. I'll do a recap though. I'll watch the show. I'll be in the Sportsnet studios on Saturday night producing the Central show, and then I'll watch the Rumble. Maybe I'll try and sneak some Rumble content into the show, and then I'll write a recap, and that'll be out Sunday. Just
so
like
I
a
shouldn't
takeaway
text you
sort of
during the
piece.
event. I don't want to give you spoilers here or anything.
I'll be watching live.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Screw building the show. The show will just happen whether I'm there or not.
Okay.
What do you do? Who's playing? The Leafs? Yeah. Okay. We'll do those highlights. We'll do other Hockey Night in Canada highlights and call it a day.
Sheldon Keefe got red-faced again. Moving on. Here's what happened with CM Punk.
That's right.
So this is fun, man. It's a great time of year. No doubt we'll be knocking on your door again as we head towards WrestleMania. This is the most fun time of the year if you're a wrestling fan. I appreciate you making the time today, Kev.
Yeah, man. And if anybody is going out to home games for PWHL Toronto, come say what's up.
That's right. That's been awesome. It's great to see. And the shots are still there, right? Like when the camera tips up at the Gardens and you're like, yeah, I know it's above a Loblaws, but that's the Gardens roof. I recognize that. That's the ceiling. It's kind of a cool backdrop for this PWHL.
That's right. And you know what's funny is so Martine Geyer, who is an anchor for Sportsnet, long time in the business, one of the greatest human beings I've met in my life.
Nice.
I was chatting with her, and she was the in-arena host for the Maple Leafs in their last season in the Gardens and their first season in the ACC. Yeah. Something that I didn't know.
Had no
idea. I said, "Oh my God!" And she said, "Yeah, so you're working where I used to work." I was like, "That is an incredibly small world." And then Martine and I have done a bunch of shows together on Sportsnet Central.
Right,
very small world.
Yeah, no, that's where I always think, and I wish they had done more with it. I don't know what, but like I remember the very last game of Maple Leaf Gardens, watching that on TV with my parents, and my grandparents, and Anne Murray sings the Maple Leaf Forever, and Paul Morris kind of in the music bridge goes, last minute of play, and like the game's over. Yeah. It's just like, man, that was so cool. I wish they could have turned that particular version of the Maple Leaf Forever into something more traditional, like for the Leafs. But like, I'll never forget that season of moving from the Gardens into the ACC, and I had no idea that obviously that Martine Geyer was the in-arena host, and now you're following in her footsteps right there in the same building.
That's right, yeah. Hell of a human being to follow in the footsteps of, because Martine is an absolute beauty.
Yeah. Well, we will link to the Jey Uso interview in the show notes here at tallcanaudio.com, and it's already up on our social media feeds at tallcanaudio. It's going to be a fun weekend if you're a wrestling fan, and if you're not, you're probably not still here. So these are always fun, Kev. I appreciate your time, man.
No problem, buddy. Anytime.
That's where we'll wrap this one up. For Kevin Michie, my name is Matt Robinson. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you're following us on social media at Tall Can Audio, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you're hearing us right now. We will see you all next time.
Now, if y'all ain't got nothing else for me to drink, I'm going to haul ass. No, I'm serious. I'm about to haul ass if y'all have no better shit than this to drink.
Thanks for listening. You can get more TCA at tallcanaudio.com or by searching Tall Can Audio on your favorite podcast app.